Solving simultaneous equations. Again, they're called simultaneous equations because we are solving two equations at the same time. We are going to be using the method of substitution. Now, the general idea behind this method of substitution is that you're finding the value of x and y in one equation, and then you're substituting it into the next equation to find the other unknown. Before I showed you all how to use the method of elimination. So the first thing we're going to do here is label the equation. So this is equation 1 and this is equation 2. Secondly, I'm going to look at my equations and determine for which equation I can manipulate to make either y or x the subject of the formula. If we pay attention to equation 2, we can clearly see it's going to be easy to make y the subject of this formula. So I'm going to select equation 2. So from equation 2, I am going to make y the subject of the formula. So y is going to be equal to 12. If I bring across this positive 2x on this side, it becomes a negative 2x. So from equation 2, we are getting y is equal to 12 minus 2x. I am going to label this equation 3. Now I am solving these equations to determine the values of x and y. If I know what y is, I could substitute it in the equation to figure out what x is. So from this equation, what I can do is substitute y is equal to 12 minus 2x in equation 1. Okay, now what is equation 1? Equation 1 was 5x plus 3y is equal to 31. So wherever I see y, I want to substitute 12 minus 2x. So now we have 5x plus 3. What is y? 12 minus 2x. And from this, I can simplify to determine the value for x. 5x plus 3 by 12 is 36. 3 by minus 2x is going to give me minus 6x is equal to 31. So 5x minus 6x is going to leave me with minus 1x. And the 1 is understood. And if I have positive 31 on this side. If I take this positive 36 on this side, it becomes negative 36. So therefore, x will be equal to negative 5. Now, when you're solving equations, you don't want your variables to have negative signs. So what we are going to do is multiply throughout by negative 1. What we are going to be doing is changing the signs throughout. If I multiply negative x by negative 1, I am going to get a positive x, and if I multiply negative 5 by negative 1, I'm going to get a positive 5. So now we got the value for x to be equal to 5. Now that we know the value for x, we can substitute it into the equation to determine the value for y. Now what equation would I use? I would use this equation, equation 3. So in this equation, I will simply substitute the value for x, and that will give me the value for y. So again, that equation, I'm substituting x into equation 3. So this is equation 3, y is equal to 12 minus 2x. And wherever I see x, I am going to substitute 5, so I can also get the value for y. So here we have y is equal to 12 minus 2 by 5. If I simplify this, I'm going to get y is equal to 12 minus 10. And therefore, the value for y is going to be equal to 2. So now I know the value for x and I know the value for y. X is equal to 5 and y is equal to 2. Now, the first thing I'm going to do in this example is label my equations. So I'm going to label this equation 1. I'm going to label this equation 2. And I'm going to choose one of these equations to make either x or y the subject of the formula. As we can see here in both equations, it's going to be really easy to make y the subject of the formula. So I'm going to choose equation 1. So from equation 1, if I want to make y the subject of the formula, I'll leave y on this side and I'll take this positive 2x and bring it on the other side, and it will become negative 2x. So from equation 1, we are getting negative y is equal to negative 1 minus 2x. And we don't want our variables to be negative, so what I'm going to do is multiply throughout my equation by negative 1, and what this is going to do is to change the signs throughout the equation. So this negative y, when I multiply through by negative 1, is going to become a positive y. This negative 1 is going to become a positive 1. This negative 2 is going to become a positive 2x. So now that we know what y is, I'm going to label this equation 3. And what I'm going to do with this equation 3, I'm going to substitute it into the equation 2. So now we're going to substitute y is equal to 1 plus 2x in equation 2. And what we'll get, wherever we see y in equation 2, we are going to put 1 plus 2x. Okay, so in equation 2, we have 3x minus, instead of y, I put 1 plus 2x is equal to 2. And what I'm going to do now is simplify. So here I have 3x minus 1 minus 2x is equal to 2. 3x minus 2x is going to give me positive x, positive 1x. The 1 is understood. Equal, I have 2 on this side. If I bring across this negative 1, it becomes a positive 1. So x is going to be equal to 3. Now that I know the value for x, what I'm going to do next is substitute the value for x into equation 3 so that I can know the value for y. Equation 3 is y is equal to 1 plus 2x. So when I substitute the value for x, which is 3, I'm going to solve. Y is equal to 1 plus 2 3s are 6, and the value for y is going to be 7. So here we have the value for x is 3 and the value for y is 7. And this is how we solve simultaneous equations using the method of substitution.